Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2021, and today I want to talk to you all about masculinity. Sadly, masculinity is something that is being demonized in our current day and age. It's currently getting a bad rap. Oftentimes when you think of masculinity these days, you think of something that's oppressive, something that's abusive, something that is toxic, something that you have to protect yourself from. I know growing up, I was raised around a lot of women, and a lot of the women were hurt women. And so they had these negative views and these negative perspectives about men that they transfused within me. And oftentimes growing up, I was constantly bombarded with these messages that men were no good, men were lazy, men were cold, men were abusive. And so all these messages were swirling around in my mind. And it caused me to try to avoid being like the men that these women were describing. I didn't want to be the man who was abusive. I didn't want to be the man who was oppressive. So it caused me to shun my own masculinity. And it also caused me to have this overwhelming curiosity about what a real man is, which caused me to take a different turn. I went into the gay community and the gay life, searching for love, searching for answers to my own masculine identity. I didn't know who I was as a man. And so I searched for that answer in other gay men. And I realized that they were just as broken as I was and confused as I was. It was like the blind leading the blind. They had no idea themselves about what true masculinity entailed. They also had a curiosity, And oftentimes you would see them act out these masculine archetypes, the thug, the hardcore, just not real masculine at all. But just realizing that, I realized that we as men and boys have this misguided definition of what true masculinity really entails. And it's oftentimes we have rejected our own masculinity for fear that we're going to be like our fathers or like the men who abuse these women. We didn't want masculinity if it meant I had to be abusive, I had to be oppressive, I have to leave my family, be the lone wolf. I know nowadays, though, I see a lot of fathers who are stepping up to the plate, and they're redefining what it means to be a man and showing their sons and their men children how to assume responsibility while also retaining your male identity. Growing up, I didn't have that. My uncles were in and out of jail. They were abusive. They were always playing or pimping women. I didn't want to be like that. Nowadays, I see a lot of fathers who are pushing strollers in the street. In my day, growing up, the only time you see a man pushing a stroller is when he was transporting a TV or some electronic to sell for crack. That's the only time you really saw a man pushing a stroller. And I'm so glad, to be honest, in this day and age, a lot of men are waking up. They're seeing the need to be present in their households. They're seeing the need to offset that negativity and that programming that comes from single head families. Because to be honest, a woman is not meant to raise a child by herself. She's not meant to raise a child by herself, especially a male child. She's not meant to raise this child alone. She needs help. She needs a father to offset the faulty programming that even she has been victim to. When you have a good father in the home, one who is showing up, one who is showing you the benefits of your own masculinity. not only do you help that male child, but you help also challenge the faulty belief system of the women. Because the women nowadays have a really faulty belief system as to what it means to be a man. I've seen women tell their young sons to play other women. And it's like, wow. And this is what perpetuates the definition of toxic masculinity, per se. I really, to be honest, I hate that term. I don't believe in toxic masculinity. I think, to be honest, it's wounded masculinity. I like that term more. Wounded masculinity, because a lot of men out here are wounded. And as a man, oftentimes we are burdened with the responsibility of being everything, of being everyone's everything. We can't fall short, because when we fall short, we're labeled as toxic, no good. You know, I think femininity is seen with more compassion and tenderness than masculinity, to be honest. And I think that needs to change. I think men they've got to do their part. They've got to start showing up in their families. Don't abandon your families when the situations get rough. You stick it out. Women, they've got to do their part too. They need to stop perpetuating this image of toxic masculinity and start teaching their sons how to be real men. You know, real men that respect women. I know that there are a lot of women out there who continue to put up with the poor behavior of men. And the thing about it is this: when you continue to tolerate poor behavior from men, you know what you're teaching them? You're teaching them that it's acceptable. You're co-signing those poor behaviors. You're enabling them to keep on hurting you. That's why, women, I recommend this for you. When your man's playing games, he's acting like a fool, not giving you no act right, you got to throw him out and you got to mean it. You know, I think if women everywhere took a united front on this, I think men will definitely straighten up their act. They will definitely see that their behaviors are not okay. But if you have one woman who's a cleanup woman, you kick him out and she's all like, come here, baby. Come on, I got a home for you. No, that's not acceptable. And that's just going to keep on perpetuating this cycle of wounded men. You know, but the thing about it is this: I think as long as there's a lonely woman out there, there will always be a wounded man. That he can come, go as he please, he can do whatever he wants to, just don't leave her. And that right there is what's keeping this problematic behavior going. You know, we talk a lot about Mars versus Venus. You know, Mars representing men, Venus representing women. But we don't talk about how these behaviors continue to be promoted. This faulty communication that exists between the two. How it continues to be exacerbated by the unwillingness of both men and women to do their part. He's not going to change, sis. He's not going to change if you continue to tolerate the poor behaviors. And men, the thing about it is, if you continue to be absent from your families and just plant seeds and don't water them, you know what's going to end up happening? You're going to have a bumper crop of rotten fruit growing up out of that ground, resenting you. There's so many men who resent their fathers. So many boys who hate their fathers, who even resent their own masculinity because of the poor examples that were set by these men. And I think that needs to change, because like I said earlier, there are a lot of good fathers out there. If you are a father out there who is taking care of your child, you right there are the answer. You right there you have my utmost respect, admiration, and gratitude. Because I wish that I had a father. I wish that I had a father that would definitely have been invested in me, that would have shown me the benefits of being a real, true man. I think I would have made a lot less mistakes in my life. So to all the fathers out there who are definitely taking care of your children, you are the remedy. You are what's going to overturn this decision and this definition of masculinity that exists today, because it has a bad connotation. We have a lot of work to do as men to clean up this definition, because I'm going to tell you right now, if we don't start cleaning up this definition, what's going to end up happening is that male identities will become obsolete. Will constantly be something that's feared as opposed to loved and respected. You know, I know men, I was watching this video, and the person stated, the gentleman that was speaking, he stated that men don't want your love, they want your respect. And the thing about it is this: if you want our respect, and I'm saying this to men, if you want our respect, the respect of your children, the respect of your partner, the respect of your employer, the respect of your generation, the respect of your world, you have got to earn that respect by taking responsibility for your choices, your actions, and basically your children and those you love. You've got to start showing up for them, being present, taking an active role, a leadership role. You can't keep on relying and just getting by on the kindnesses and the generosity of women. You can't keep on doing that. You have got to step up. And I tell this to myself too. I tell this to myself that there's a need. There's a need for men to step up. But I also think that there's a need for men to be supported. And I think what ends up happening due to the disbelief, due to the gross disbelief in the good man, there's a gross disbelief in the good man. Due to that gross disbelief, what ends up happening is that the man is challenged. He's beat down, I guess, in an effort to try to prove his sincerity or try to see his sincerity, but at the same time, he's not supported. And so when you're not supported, it's not going to be motivation. You're not going to be motivated to continue on doing what you're doing. So the thing is this: I know everyone wants a hero, but the thing is, we're just men. We're humans. And I think because we're created in God's image and people have a very strained relationship with God, we're oftentimes recipients of that anger. We're oftentimes these trauma containers where people have this spiritual trauma. So we receive that doubt, that skepticism as men. I'm here to tell you that we're not gods. We're just flesh and blood. Do not put your faith in man, woman, child, any human. Put your faith in God. He's the one you put your faith in. As for human beings, you definitely have to realize that they're imperfect. They're not always going to do or say and be everything right. And I think that people have these expectations as to what a man is. And when a man doesn't live up to those expectations that they have, they emasculate him with these negative comments that attack his masculinity, that attack his being. And that right there is not okay. So I know that we definitely want to see more male leadership. But you have to understand also that a lot of men are wounded and they need some support. And men have got to also be willing to receive and take some initiative with getting the help that they need to address these traumas and to reconfigure and reconstruct those definitions that exist in their head, those core limiting beliefs that they have about masculinity and what that means to be a man. I know me personally, I'm doing my work to kind of offset and rearrange and just reconfigure that definition of masculinity, because masculinity is beautiful, it's powerful, it's strong, it affects change. It's something that can heal. You know, we oftentimes see it as something destructive, but no. In every destruction, there's a creation that can happen. And I think masculinity is something that can create you know? And so I'm working on building new definitions, you know, because growing up, you definitely are programmed with these messages. The tape in your head replays over and over and over these negative messages as a result of your upbringing, as a result of being raised by so many women who were hurt women. These women were wounded women. And that's what I have to remind myself. The messages that I received came from a bunch of wounded women. And so I can't blame them. I cannot blame them. What I can do is take responsibility for my own healing now and realize, wait a minute, I was given faulty information about what true masculinity is. Now it's my responsibility to find out what that means outside of a sexual context, outside of having to go to other sources trying to figure this out. Really, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to be helped by God. I'm trying to read the scriptures, trying to see what exactly is God's definition of masculinity for me. What does he want for me? And I got to tell you, it's been a journey. It has been a journey fraught with many nights, sleepless nights, many anger-filled days, throwing things around the house, trying to figure this out. I just say the best intervention sometimes is just to have a role model. And that's why, fathers, you are crucial in the home. You can help save your children. You know, recently, a former friend of mine was murdered, you know, and dumped in a lake. And I realized that if he had a father in his home, would this have happened? You know, fathers, you protect your children. And there's so many of us boys out here who are lost, who have no one to protect us, no one to model what protection looks like. So we don't even know how to protect ourselves. And it's because of this lack of adequate role models that we're out here putting ourselves in dangerous places, trying to get love, trying to get company, trying to get support, trying to get answers to the questions that just plague us. Answers that only you could have given. You know, I definitely pray for that young man's soul. But I also realize that it's about time. It's time that I take responsibility for addressing my issues with masculinity. Because if I don't address those issues, it's going to be poured into the next generation and transmitted into the next generation. And it's just, it has to stop somewhere. You know, the generational curse has got to be broken. And it starts with you and it starts with me. So this is Lewis Speaks, wishing everybody out there, especially the men out there, who are fatherless, who are abandoned, who feel lost in this world. Just know that you are not lost. You are found. Do your work. It's time. I love you all, and I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful journey. Peace.